Hi, this is Larry London. We welcome you to Border Crossings, and talking to us today from the comfort of his own home, which I assume it's his own home.
Yes.
We have Greyson Chance with us, who has a new EP coming out in just days, and we are very excited. This will be, I think, your second EP, if I'm not mistaken. Portraits was the first.
Yes. So I've been doing this, Larry, for a long time. I'm 23 years old, but I've been making music now for 11 years since I was 12. So technically, this is probably my third or fourth album, but I like to call it my second, just because this is kind of my new chapter since I stepped out back into music when I was 20 again.
All right. And so, since you touched about the fact that you were singing when you were 12, I want to go back to when the world first met you, and
Yes.
you were, there was no beard, and you were thicker, you were chubbier when Greyson Chance was introduced to the world by Ellen DeGeneres on her
Yeah.
daytime television show. And I was watching you, and she believed in you so much that she put her whole self behind you, which she never did before. So obviously that is a huge statement, and obviously it's all turned out well for you.
Yes, well, as I mentioned, it's a crazy position to be in for me at 23 years old, but I feel like an old man at this point, because I've been doing it so long. But I started off in music so unconventionally. I had a viral video, and from then I got signed to Ellen's record label, and since that moment, I've seen truly every aspect of the music industry. But what I've, kept true to myself and true to my heart is, people for some reason like to watch me sing and play the piano. So I try to focus on that and try to be as authentic as I can within that craft.
And you are very, very talented at playing the piano and writing music, producing, creating music, which the world didn't see at 12. You sang Paparazzi, Lady Gaga song. But since that time, how was it for you to actually be able to record a song that you wrote yourself?
Yeah, well, I've talked openly about this, but the long story short of my story is that I started with a lot of acclaim in the industry and came in very, very hot. And after a few years, that heat sort of died down. I eventually was dropped by my record label when I was like 15 years old. And since that moment, I was always focused on who I was as a songwriter. What did I want to say as an artist? And I spent many years just working in the studio trying to perfect my craft and to get better at it. And now in this point in my career, I'm very focused on making music that is honest and that is true to me, because in a world where there's so much music all the time, the only thing that I can do correctly or do adequately is speak from my own voice. So my goals now, or when I'm looking at a record that I'm releasing or something that I'm writing, it's my first question is always, do I like this? Is this something that I feel connected to? Is this something that I feel like is a good representation of my taste? And I usually lead with that and sort of see what happens.
Now, you have gone through a lot at a very short amount of time and a very young age. Like you said, 12 signed to a major label, 15 dropped by a major label. You're not even driving a car yet, and you've already
Yeah.
been through a process some people work their whole lives to achieve and never get there. So how did that impact you? How did that change you from what artist you were to who you are today? Because you're back with another major label now. So how did
I
that
am.
happen?
Well, it taught me at a very young age that, you have to consistently work hard. You consistently have to be going out there, putting yourself out there. I'm very close, actually. A good friend of mine is Cyndi Lauper, and
Oh,
she told me something last year where she said, because I asked her, I said, you've been an artist for so long, and how have you been able to do this and still keep a sane head as you're doing it? And she said, throughout the span of my career, what I've learned is that you can only get struck by lightning if you're standing out in the rain. And so, what I learned at a young age was that I need to keep on standing out in the rain. I need to keep on working, keep on trying to be a better artist, be a better performer. And, genuinely too, I think my focus now is to have fun with what I do. I want to enjoy the music, and I want to make sure my fans know that I'm enjoying it, because at the end of the day, That's what matters the most.
Yes, and at 23, you have accomplished, as I said, some things that many haven't. 70 million streams already. That's a career. I mean, you know, so congratulations on that. And so the new EP, let's talk about that. That's the exciting stuff that's going on for Greyson Chance right now. And that is June 25th. Circle, I'm sure that date is in red and flashing neon lights on your calendar.
It is. It is.
And that's the day of the next EP, the newest album, June 25th, which you decided to call Trophies. Why did you come up with that name? Are you anticipating a busload full?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Well, my album before this body of work was an album called Portraits. And, you know, in coming into the studio to write Trophies, my goal was to, again, you know, really kind of stick to my roots of, you know, that pure kind of honest songwriting. And I was very obsessed with, at the time, some old photographs by Robert Eggleston, and he used to shoot these old trophies all the time in the 70s and 80s. And I looked at this object and I thought it was so interesting because you can have, you know, the most elaborate gold, you know, decked out trophy, right? And it can be super big, but it could still say in the fine print, you know, 9th place runner up. It's all about what's on the fine print. And, you know, at the time I was, you know, off of the road now. We were in the pandemic at the height of it, and I was feeling very low on my self-esteem and my self-confidence. I felt like that fine print wasn't, you know, where it needed to be for myself. And so I wrote a lot about that on the record. I wrote about how I was trying to build myself up through the music. And I wrote a lot too about this, you know, outside perspective of how people see me. And how maybe sometimes that's not necessarily the truth. And so it's a very honest record. I think I truly wore my heart on my sleeve for this one, and in the same way that I did for my last album, Portraits. And so I hope people can see that and enjoy it as well.
And it's very, I would assume, therapeutic too, to be able to put your emotions about some very personal, painful, private things and turn them into a song. I mean, that didn't used to happen, or at least admittedly used to happen, until 10 years ago or so, when artists actually started to, you know, figuratively and literally come out, when people started to actually say, here's who I am. You know, I've embraced me. I hope you embrace me too. And this is who I am. And so now more and more artists are really starting to peel away the layers of the onion, so to speak. And
of course.
And
But that's what good art is, though, too, right? Is that, you know, when I look at some of my favorite artists, you know, off of the top of my head, I'm thinking of Brandi Carlile, who I'm just such a huge fan of. When you listen to her music, you're able to transport into her world. You know, you're able to see it through her lens, and I think that's what good art does. So when people put on this record, you know, from top to bottom for those 30 minutes, I hope that they get to see the world through my lens, and I hope that they get to better understand me, because I think that's really what good art does.
And so let me ask you, you said you have dealt with self-esteem issues or some challenges. What advice do you have to anyone who's watching or listening right now that might be experiencing some similar struggles? What has helped you get over the hump to the other side?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is just having grace for yourself, because, you know, as we're, you know, progressing throughout this year, I think what we all need to realize is last year was an unprecedented time. And it was so tough, you know, to all of a sudden be locked in your house, in your apartment, and dealing with the stress and the anxiety of the pandemic, worrying if you were going to get sick, worrying about your loved ones. It was a lot for us to handle. So I think having that grace towards yourself, and, you know, for me, what I do in my moments of, you know, low self-esteem and when I'm not feeling at my best, you know, I truly do try to surround myself with my friends, my family. I like to lean on the people in my life who, you know, love me and show me support. And, you know, some people would view that as, you know, they would think it makes them look weak or maybe not adequate. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? And we need that support system. And so, you know, I'm 23 years old. There's still nights where I call my mom and I'm crying and I'm going, Mom, how do I get through this? What's going on? And she says, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I need that, you know? So I think I would encourage people to have grace towards themselves, and, you know, to just remember too, you wake up every morning and you have a clean slate. No matter what happened yesterday, no matter what has happened in your life, you wake up in the morning and you're able to wipe it clean. And so remember that, focus on that, and try the best that you can.
Growing up in Oklahoma, did you ever in your wildest dreams imagine you'd be a role model for millions?
It's funny that you asked. In a interview I did just this morning, they said, how do you view your platform? How are you, you talk about certain issues, you talk about certain things, and, how do you view that? And for me, I try to forget that it's a platform, or that I'm, maybe a role model for X amount of people, whatever it is. What I'm trying to do is to be honest, and if there's something that I feel like I want to talk about or that I need to talk about, I'll do it. And so I don't like to focus on it too much, and to say, okay, I'm a role model for all these people. I'm Greyson. I'm here, and I'm gonna tell you what I think.
We're talking with Greyson Chance, whose newest EP is Trophies. It comes out June 25th. And so Little Nas X made a big move in his life, and he came out and he told the world, this is who I am. Maybe not who you expected me to be, but this is who I am. And he said there was a fear of people not accepting him. Was this a difficult decision for you, given you're in this public spotlight kind of role, to actually reveal that part of your life, your private, personal life?
Yeah, of course. And, regardless of whether you're in a public, sort of sphere or not, or whether people are looking at your life, every queer person that has come out has felt that fear of, am I going to be accepted? Am I going to be loved when I show my true identity and my true self? And, why I think Lil Nas is such an inspiration, and I'm thinking of other artists and public figures too, who have really taken that public step out, and I did that as well. But they're able to show, younger people across the country and across the world that, hey, this went really well for me. I came out, and people really did embrace me and support me, and that's an important message, I think, to share. What I also like to tell my fans, though, too, is, to not feel a pressure that you need to, every story is individualistic. So I try to remind people to not feel this pressure of, okay, if they're coming out and they're speaking their truth, I need to do that right now. You need to assess what is good for you as an individual, what's going to keep you the most safe. There's a lot of queer kids who have, some really, really tough home environments. And so every story is individualistic, but, I'm such a happier person and such a better person now that I'm living my truth.
And the world is a better place because of people like you who are saying,
Oh, thank you.
I can't love you can't love me till I love me. So here I am.
Sure.
So that's wonderful. Now, you are also involved with a lot of charities too, Greyson. I see a whole list of charities that you support. You're such a giving guy. How can you pay the rent if you give it all away?
Well, there's a lot that you can do to support charities and to be philanthropic without just having to give a bunch of money away. I work with Born This Way Foundation a lot. I work with the True Colors Foundation, which is Cyndi Lauper's organization, and I work with a lot of local organizations in Oklahoma City, where I'm from and where I live. And, I volunteer a ton. I go to events. I give money when I can. And I think the most important thing is, to really start in your local city, start in your town, recognize where there is a need for help and a need for a voice and a volunteer hand. And I like to do what I can.
That's great. And you said the Born This Way Foundation, that's Lady Gaga's foundation. Do you work with her? Is she as crazy behind the scenes as we all see her to be?
Lady Gaga is the most sane and level-headed individual I have ever met in my life, and I put my hand on the Bible to that. If any young artist that comes up to me and they ask for advice, I say, study her. It's the best thing you can do. Get on YouTube, listen to her records. There will never be anybody like her again.
Will you collaborate with any of these people who you rubbed shoulders with?
I've been begging Gaga to let me hop on a song for a long time now, and I'll keep on begging.
Keep on. It'll happen. It'll happen. So tell me about the new EP. It comes out, and then what's the plan next? Touring, obviously, but this whole pandemic has been very debilitating in certain ways. In other ways, because of social media, what we're doing right now, we're reaching people beyond the scope of what you would just reach on a stage. These virtual concerts have been attracting millions of viewers. So what is your plan after the EP comes out?
Well, I'm actually happy to say, we have a tour that's been announced now that is going to be going through North America in July and August.
Oh, great.
We're kind of going city by city. I'm encouraging my fans to wear masks at my show. I'm encouraging everyone to get vaccinated. I think it's very, very important, to get that shot and to know that it is safe and that it is very reliable. We're going to be hitting the road again. And after a year of not playing shows, I'm so excited to be back in a venue and to be with my fans and to share those experiences again. So I'm very much so looking forward to my tour in July and August.
And the great news now is 12 to 15-year-olds can get the shot too.
Yes. Yes, and anybody should get your shot. And if you have friends that are skeptical about it, talk to them. Open up the conversation and share your stories. With me, I got my 2 shots, and I did feel pretty crummy after the second one, but I felt crummy for 24 hours, and then after that, I was vaccinated from COVID-19. So what a blessing! You got to get this shot.
That's right. There's one side effect that you can't recover from. That's death. So get the shot.
That's true.
Get the shot. Greyson Chance, what a pleasure it is to talk to you. Tell me about your favorite songs on the EP. What are we going to be looking for? What are your special songs, the special sauce?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about this body of work because I think it shows how much range I, really do have as an artist. There's every type of song for every type of listener on this record. I made sure that we have some big up tempos, that we have some really strong ballads, and my favorite moments on the record would probably be more of the kind of softer, slower moments. I have a song called "Oh Violet," which is sort of my tribute to Fleetwood Mac, and kind of showed my inspiration from my mom playing Rumors on repeat when I was a kid growing up. And so there's a little bit of everything for every listener on this record, and I'm really excited to show that range.
Well, we're excited for it to be out very, very soon. Trophies is the name of the new EP. How about a full studio album? Is that in the plan too?
Absolutely. Larry, I've been doing this for 11 years, so don't worry. I'm gonna be doing it for 11 more.
Well, that's wonderful. Promise me, Greyson, when you come to DC, you'll sit in our studio so I can meet you in person and we can do a little set, a little live performance.
Of course, that sounds perfect, Larry.
Thank you. Thank you. What's your website? So people around the world want to check in on you and find out where your tour's going and how they can get your music. Where do they go?
Yes, please. They can go to greysonchancemusic.com. We have all of our show dates there. We have all of my music videos. We have our merch store. Everything is there, but I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the whole 9 yards.
Thank you, Greyson Chance. A pleasure to talk to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Larry.
Be well. Greyson Chance is our guest. Trophies is the name of the new EP out June 25th. Thank you so much for watching. This is Border Crossings.